Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I am joined on this Winter Solstice day by Michael J. Russ. You are an incredible soul, and I'm so grateful that you're with me on this journey. So I want to say hello, Michael, and ask you how your day is.
Amazing. Always. A great journey with you. It's always just wonderful to, I don't know. The alternative isn't inviting. Okay, it's not. It doesn't get me anywhere. That's the one thing I tell people all the time. Is, have a how are you doing today? I don't know. Well, it's the alternative to not being good, not being positive. Doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't elevate you. It doesn't move you forward in life. So, yeah, my standard response is always, I'm magnificent. I'm awesome. I'm great. Put a smile behind it. Put some positive energy behind it. Keep moving.
And it's a choice. And I can always say when I ask you, even in a conversation when we're not on the air, and you say amazing. And it's wonderful. It lights up my soul. And I can always see your smile behind those words. And it's really fantastic. So here on the longest night of the year and the shortest day, there's a lot of different things in these cycles that we go through. I always welcome the winter solstice. To me, there's something magical as that darkness comes in, and you sort of, in here at the east, we feel the chill in the air, but there is a promise of light coming in and new cycles. And after the holidays, you start to see the seeds come into the hardware stores, and it's all about that growth. But we use this time sort of as a quiet time, I think, as reflection. And when we have an ending to the year coming up, I think that there is that reflection of what have we throughout the year, and not to be difficult and hard on yourself, and not for what you didn't do, but to really applaud yourself for the blessings and the things done well for you. And I'd love to talk about that, Michael, because, about bringing more happiness and peace into our lives, how we elevate ourselves, how we elevate our vibration, and how we really make it a choice to bring in more happiness, joy, and light, so that we can have heart awakening and to use the day, even if it's just today or any day, to bring that into your mind and your soul so that we find that peace. And I'd love to hear is there anything special that you do at the end of the year, Michael, that you sort of use as a stepping stone to new beginnings in the new year?
Yeah. Thank you for asking, and it was so wonderfully put. What I do generally is I've trained myself to kind of forget about what happened yesterday. When you're living in the moment, you want to drag as little about yesterday into today as possible so that you can be in the moment. So I've really, over the decades, trained myself to be more into the moments in my day, and then when the next day comes, it's all fresh, it's all new. I'm not dragging the energies, any negative energies into even positive energies. I just enjoy them, feel them, experience them, and then move on. In my view, it's important to ask yourself, what did I learn this year? Which kind of focuses you on not what went wrong, but how you can take what went wrong and build on it. And so I ask myself that question: is there anything, what did I learn this year? And then there's also, what am I hanging on to? You got to, if there could be, one thing that happened during the year that was kind of paramount over all the others, right? The one challenge you had this year that you needed to get through. And you got to ask yourself, am I hanging on to any mistakes, foibles, failures, miscalculations, whatever you want to call it, misfortune that happened to you, and make sure that you're letting it go, that it doesn't define who you are in this moment. It's just something that happened. and be alert to how you're perceiving the overall flow of your life. It's important to remain positive about that flow, because what we're thinking in this moment defines what's going to happen in the next moment. So we really want to avoid being, in the past, dealing with something and having that energy come into this moment and contaminating the next moment, perpetuating the same thought process in the next moment. That's really what I know is important to me, and that's how I kind of face it. So I just kind of want to flush it. I want to flush the whole year. It happened. I can't go back and change it. We have to realize that. We can, again, learn from our mistakes and say, okay, that happens again. This is going to be my response. And I believe it was Bashir, Anka, who channels Bashir.
Yeah,
Bashar, who something interesting, quite interesting that he said with regard to that is that you have to make sure that you're moving into the next moment, that you've satisfied the previous moment, and that you're here, right now, that your perceptions are about yourself are positive and purposeful, and that you really understand the fact that what you're thinking creates your reality in every single moment of your life. Be constantly aware of what your thoughts are. So in December, I spent a lot of time reflecting on, in a positive way, on how wonderful the year was and how easily it flowed. I use that kind of language, how easily it flowed, how wonderful it was, how loving the year was, how my relationships with people were so positive. I kind of think about the wondrous connections I made throughout the year, whether they were momentary or whether they turned into something deeper. Because people is what it's all about in the end. It's all about how we relate to each other. That's really it. All the other stuff is just fluff when it comes to life. Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's just
you're
stuff.
Absolutely right.
Fluff and other. It's just I mean, yeah. If everything that happened in our life was happened because of a connection or an interaction with another individual, another soul on this planet, when you can start thinking like that in the macro picture. That is, why did that thing go wrong? Maybe because you were supposed to connect with that individual that helped you figure it out, or that particular person who helped you pivot in another direction. I mean, that's really where we're at this point in time. When we start grasping that macro thought process, it changes everything and makes everything in our experience different. The way we see it. We see it differently. And when I learned that, it kind of blew my mind at first. And then
it does.
Yeah, because it still blows my mind. Because you go back and you look at it. And if you really apply that to a challenge or a circumstance or event that happened to you that you reacted negatively to, that evoked some negative feelings and emotions, if you start looking at it that way, and looking for I could say the backdoor perception, okay? The backdoor perception of it, not the initial perception you had on the face of it, like the one-dimensional perception that you had. This car hit that car, that person got hurt, that kind of one-dimensional thing. If you go behind it and you go through the back door of the event and you look at it in a different way, there's something there that you can learn from it, that you can take from it, that either that is in some way connected to someone else. Either the person that helps you, the person that came to your assistance, you find out who it is that really cares about you and who's faking it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of look at it, but that's kind of what I do. It's a reflection.
No, that's wonderful.
On everything. Yeah,
and gratitude. Sure. I know that you are so grateful for every gift, both what would be perceived as positive and the opposite. No matter what it is, you look at it and say, okay, this maybe I thought A was going to happen, but B unfolded instead. And even though I'd prefer that A happen, I can understand that B needed to happen so that I could meet XYZ person and all of these amazing things unfold. I'm really grateful that you brought up Bashar, because for me, I always sort of have lived my life that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I had heard the name Bashar, like you. I had never really explored any of the channelings of Bashar or any of the information that Daryl Anka brought forth. And I have a book that I write things down that I kind of want to anchor into my consciousness and into my existence. I thought about when you mentioned it, and there was something that he said, Daryl Anka brought forth about Bashar's very simple formula, the 5 principles for visioning. And I'm going to read them because I wrote them down because I wanted to anchor them in for myself. And so I figured that since you brought them up, there's a reason the guys are like, okay, bring this out. So of the 5 principles of his formula, first was to act on your highest passion, which I love passion, by the way. It's like, okay, what is my passion? Number 2 was act on as long as you can, taking it as far as you can until you continue further, which I think is really brilliant. Number 3, take action with no insistence, no assumptions of what the outcome is supposed to be, which is not easy for us in this 3rd dimensional reality. But I love it because no assumptions, no insistence. It's not our doing. We're not driving the bus. We got to let go of the wheel and let somebody drive it. Number 4, stay in a positive state no matter what happens, which, Michael, you do. Not always. And I try to do as well. And number 5, explore your belief systems and let go of the fear-based or negative ones or the definitions that no longer work for you, which I totally loved. And then he said, and then act on that passion. What is the excitement? Where's the creativity? What's the point of attraction? And I think that those are the things that feed our soul. And so at the year's end, I usually, instead of, going out to New Year's parties where people are talking about resolutions or things like that, I like to carve out a time. I go out and I find a special book. Sometimes I'll decorate it. Sometimes it's something that really makes me smile. And I'll sit down and I'll blueprint basically the things that I want to vision for myself for the year, just 1 year, maybe multiple things. And I look at it from an emotional, physical, mental, spiritual standpoint, all of those, because we're all of those bodies. So if there's something physically I'd like to shift and to bring into a greater focus, strengthen my mind, perhaps, whatever it is, and I'll just allow it to flow freely. And sometimes I'll go back and I'll edit. I don't cross anything out. I add to. At the end, I just ask, bring me this or something better. And then I close, and I don't open it up. I don't really ever open them up. I have them on my shelf. I could if I wanted to, but it's really not important because it's not my timeline. And it's amazing the things when you get that clarity, and even defining what is your passion. I mean, powerful word, passion. Oh my goodness. It speaks to the soul. I mean, and the heart screams with it. It's like, you're passionate about something. You have that burning desire deep within. That is your calling. And whether it be part of your soul's purpose or not, it's something that brings you joy. It's something that brings your heart peace. It makes you feel light. And I think that that's something that we would like to all invite in for a coming year. So whether you choose to do that on the solstice, year after the new year, whenever that is for you, you'll know the right time.
I think that's awesome. Thank you for that. Let me ask you this: when you look at, I know you look in December at what you wrote down at the beginning of the year. Aren't you fascinated by how much of what you wrote down kind of manifested for you?
Oh, there's so much. I mean, there is. And the other part of it, too, and again, it's the guidance. I mean, every morning I wake up and I look to the right and I say, thank you. Thank you for what's yet to unfold. Thank you for the peacefulness I had in my sleep. Thank you for the things that sometimes miraculously seeming to flow into my inbox, my notes from the universe. And I read them and the quotes that come across my desk. And there's things that I screenshot so many things on my phone. And they're important for me. I don't find them coming to me as an accident. I think that they come in with purpose and as reminders. And there was one and I've never heard of this person before, and I'm going to probably really make a mockery of her last name, but it's Anita Morskova, and she has a site called Raising Your Frequency. And one of the things that came across my feed this morning, she had written, as you gaze into the mirror, see beyond the surface reflection, acknowledge the embodiment of limitless potential, an entity with the to redefine and reshape the course of its own existence. And that just was like, wow. That's my favorite word, wow. I'm like, got it. I got it. I got to look beyond the surface reflection and see that embodiment of that limitless potential. I was like, gosh, thank you for that gift. Thank you for that gift. It's a reminder because we do become, I think, so disconnected from the truth of who we are. You get the person in the traffic jam that, flipped you off and gave you the finger. And, you could put your foot on the gas and tailgate them and, get into whatever drama that you want. Or you can go, not so much today. Blessings to you.
Yeah.
Hope your day gets.
Yeah. I'm in control, not you. Yeah, I wrote that. You unpacked a whole lot of stuff there. It's interesting. I'll start out with what came to mind when you were talking about acting your highest passion, the first element there of Bashar. And it, a lot of people really aren't connected to their passions. And so I really want to say that, to me, being connected to your passion is when you have a feeling of fulfillment and joy from what you're doing. I mean, you can be passionate about cleaning your house, okay? You can be passionate about cleaning your house. You can be passionate about mowing your lawn or raking leaves or, just detailing your house. You can be passionate about that. I knew a guy who was in love with mowing his lawn. He loved it. He loved to do it. He loved to look at it when it was
so
done.
Cute.
He loved the journey of getting it done.
It was probably fun watching him mow his lawn too, right? If you were having to drive by or walking by.
Not so much for me. It's his thing, And this is the other thing that's interesting. We have to bless people in their passions, and that's fine. It's not for us to determine what somebody else's passion is or what they're passionate about, but passion is a feeling that we have. So I'm passionate about playing the drums. When I don't do it every day. However, when I do, I absolutely love it and I enjoy it, and it brings me a sense of fulfillment. I'm here at my sister's house. The first thing I did was I came in, and I'm up in the morning on Tuesday morning, my mother's birthday, and I decided to clean her kitchen. I just needed to do something. So I cleaned her stove, I cleaned her top stove, cooktop, and I cleaned a lot of stuff, right? And I swept the patio in the back, and I looked at it. It's interesting because chores to me are interesting. My life is always, my last 4 decades or 4 decades of life has been pretty much, what have you done for me lately? It's kind of like that old adage where there's not a sense of completion from what I do. I could stop at 5 p.m. and go do something else that I enjoy. However, the next morning when I come back to it, I pick up where I left off. There is no that's done, it's finished. And people who are creatives understand. Well, maybe not creatives, because when you do create something, there's a point where you're finished with that particular creation, that design, whatever, and you can look at it and you can say, wow, and you can move on to the next one. However, there are some of us in life who, there is no finishing point. What we have is infinite that we do, and it's just a function of how much time you put into it. Like my sister has kept telling me this entire week, oh, I just don't have time for this thing. I don't have time for that thing. And I said, are you like writing down what's most important to you that day and then focusing on that? And she says, I've got so much, so many timelines, some of this, some of that. And I'm like, wow. Her creative, her entrepreneurial venture is never done. There's always a next thing. There's always two things that need to be done. There's always a timeline. There's always a deadline for this. And if you don't line up this, you don't hit the deadline for that, right? And I think about that, and I'm like, we create our own little prisons for ourselves mentally. It's when there's so much creative stuff to do and there's so much opportunity, it is possible to become so wrapped up in the opportunity that you never get anything done, or you don't get done what it is that you want to get done when you want to get it done. Now, she's pretty good at doing that. She's pretty good at, and she's lived by the seat of her pants for, I'd say, 3.5 decades now, very successfully. It's my little term, living by the seat of your pants. That's like one of these old wise tale things that just came to mind.
They call them hidden highways of opportunity, Michael. It sounds like she's an entrepreneur. She travels on a road that's sort of everything's unexpected every day of her life.
Right. Exactly. Which is exactly the way my life is, except in a different way. And I know you're a creative, and so ideas and concepts come to mind. You just have to sit down and you have to focus on them, and they just flow from you. However, the torment for people who are creatives is when you're not creating and you want to be creating, but you've got to do other things in life. Right, you've got to do something else. You've got to take care of your pets. You've got to take care of your house. You've got to mow that lawn. You've got to clean your house. You've got to, go out and be with the family on this particular occasion. We have to. Okay, listen. There's time for creativity. There's time for passion, and you can engage in it. However, it's really important to understand that passion is not some big concept. It's the micro of life. You can be passionate about doing whatever it is that you're doing in the moment, just to a different degree than which you go out and play a gig in front of 2,000 people. That may be something you're passionate about, but you're also passionate about sitting down with your guitar and in your in the quiet moments and just letting ideas and stuff flow through. That's passion too, because it brings a sense of fulfillment. The question is it bringing you joy? Is it fun? Is it bringing you fulfillment? Right? Is it doing those things? Do you feel awesome when you're doing it? That's my litmus test. Do I feel amazing? Do I have this? Does it remind me of the best day of my life? Right? Which is because I kind of let things go. That is best. Every day is the best day of my life. I intend to make it the best day of my life. It may not be winning the lottery. That, some people may say, oh, that would be the best day of my life. No. Today is the best day of your life. So craft it the way you want it to be. And a lot of that is between the 5 inches between your ears. That's where life happens right there, in the 5 inches between your ears. And that's where the passion, the fulfillment, the gratitude, the forgiveness, that's where they live. And by the way, I just wanted to say one thing about gratitude and forgiveness when you were talking about them. In my view, when you live from them, when your intention is to live from gratitude and forgiveness on a daily basis, and they become part of your daily mental activities, you forgive yourself for the mistakes or whatever happened. You say your ho'oponopono if that's what you do, or you just say, quietly say, I forgive you. Okay, let's move on, right? Or you say, oh, so grateful for today. It was such an amazing day, magnificent day. I met some great people. And you're just sitting in a pool of gratitude and enjoying the feelings and enjoying the moment. When you do that every day, when you make it a point to do it every day, it's not something you think about. Like at the end of the year, I don't necessarily sit down and say, I'm so grateful for, because I've done it every day, right? So it's a constant for me. Same thing with forgiveness is, it's a thing it's a tool. It's a tool of alchemy that we all have access to that doesn't cost any money, that makes us feel absolutely amazing, that can literally wipe out what happened. Just wipe it off the face of the earth, whatever that mistake was, whatever that failure, whatever that misstep or that misfortune you got caught up in. You have a part in everything. A gentleman that I really respected, who's no longer with us, very successful businessman, once said in a workshop that I did with him, he said, you have a responsibility, you have some portion of responsibility for everything that happens in your life, whether it's to you, right, directly, something that you're connected to, you have some part in that. When somebody does something to you, you have a responsibility. You have to be accountable for your particular percentage, your part of what happened, right? Even if somebody walks in your front door and slaps you and walks out, it was your house. You decided to buy that house in that spot. You decided to be there in that moment, not gone. I mean, there's so many things you can forgive yourself for. It's not just that you have to blame the other person for walking through the door, because that's a dead-end road that goes to nowhere, right? This is the way I think when it comes to that. And I say, okay, I forgive you for being where I was at that particular moment in time, because I know that the way the nuance of law of attraction works, I have some responsibility. I have to be accountable for my thoughts that led me to be in that particular spot. And in employing forgiveness, you release yourself and you allow yourself to love, and to love yourself and to love life. And to me, that's what those tools are for. So at the end of the year here, we're looking at as you said, the longest night and the shortest day, which I think is absolutely amazing. I love this day, by the way, because now the days get longer.
I look forward to it. I know. I love having the sun
comes up a little earlier. 1 minute a day. Okay, 1 minute a day comes up.
I know.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and I want to see it. I want to see the glory of the morning kind of unfold, and it's precious for me to do that. And I know it is for you too, because it signals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it signals anything can happen. Anything and everything can happen. That's what that sunrise does for us. We don't know where the day is going to take us. We just know that if we're in a frame of mind that embraces positivity, we know whatever it is going to be for our benefit. It's going to help us get to what we want, to where we want to be in life, and to help us get what we want in life. And
so much. No, I was going to say, Michael, because you said a mouthful, and what I heard, and just is asking yourself, you can have all of this. It's there for you. We're serving. Are you willing to live your life from that space? And a lot of times when we make those choices, now you come from that place, but it can be sort of a lonely journey. If you are used to going to the bar all the time, you hang out with this group of people, and you don't really find that it serves you any longer. You're not really enjoying the drinking aspect or the drama or whatever else it is, and you want to change and you want to move to a higher vibration. That journey of making that change can be a little lonely. But I think what happens is when you start to transcend and ascend and really bring in things from a higher vibrational level, higher consciousness level, bring in more beauty. And that's what the time, when you're going through if you were looking at the metaphor of the darkest night of the year. And sometimes we feel like that in our lives, that we have this darkness, but it's emerging. And so every day life can open up. You can fall into a new rhythm and really have the life that you were meant to be part of. And your path, I think, sometimes when you start to do that, it just really unfolds. And
there's just that is
please.
absolutely true. I'm going to interject one thing. If you're having a dark night, go outside, look at the stars. It's pretty interesting. 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep. Instead of rolling around in bed, put a robe on, put some clothes on, put some shoes on, go outside and take a look at the starry night. It's quiet. It's beautiful. It's serene. It takes you to a different place. The teachers are always talking about something very, very brilliant, which is change your thought process. Change the path of your thoughts. When you're having negative thoughts, do whatever you need to do to change the path of that thought, to pivot away from that. And so that's what I do. Sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll go to the back door of the house. I don't even have to go outside because I can see the eastern sky. And there'll be a planet out there. And I'll look at that beautiful planet, the brightest thing in the sky at that particular point. I'll look around it, and I'll look at the trees. I'll focus on what's out there. And sometimes when it's not freezing outside, which is rare, I'll step outside the back door and just listen to, whatever's out there. That's the owls hooting, whatever. There's some big owls hooting in our neighborhood. And I pay attention to it.
Oh, what a blessing.
And I think to myself, the owl is hooting. Kind of cool. And sometimes I'll hoot back. I'll hoot back to them. I'll mimic what they're doing because it's fun. Listen, nothing's better than, I'm changing the path of my thoughts. I might wake up in the night concerned about something. I will, it's rare. However, it does happen. I'm human. And that's the other thing I wanted to say. The perfection is in the moment. It's not. It's along the journey. It's the moments along the journey. It's not this end thing. There is no perfection. Perfection is a moving target. When you think you got it, you don't. So the perfection is in that moment.
I know. You're right.
Yeah. It's in that moment. So I am not perfect in a sense of that perfect picture on the wall kind of thing that's static. I'm always moving. I'm always evolving. And perfection, when I say I'm perfect, I'm literally, for whatever it may be, I love my body. My body is perfect. My meditation is perfect. My life is perfect. When I say those things, what I'm basically doing is I am programming my life and myself to be that way. That's the trick. It's like the people can't. They have a problem actually putting themselves in a position in a position where they feel as if they already have something. This is the greatest challenge. And I want to read something very quickly. This is really cool.
Please.
It was a post. It was a post from America's Medium, from Carol, from the teachers, and she said in her show with us last week that this comes directly from them. She has no input. She just literally transcribes and posts. So here it is. This is when you are trying to manifest something. What is your starting point? The item, the price, the timing. The components are important. They are necessary. But we want you to start with the feeling of your first day or first moment with it. What will it feel like? Conjure that feeling first, and then add the item, the price, the timing, and the other components. We love you. Now, that's the end of the post. This is, there must be 100 different ways you can say this. However, it boils down to one thing. If you want something in life, if you want to feel absolutely awesome in your next moment, you must literally in this moment experience what it would feel like to be awesome in the next moment. And then before you know it, you're awesome. You're feeling amazing. You know, you've shed that negative thought about yourself in some way that you're either beating yourself up. And by the way, I'm not into New Year's resolutions, and I know you're not. A lot of people think about the end of the year. If you're going to make a promise to yourself, this is really the way I put it. If you're going to make a promise to yourself for the next year, make a promise not to beat yourself up. Make a promise to always treat yourself with kindness, compassion, empathy, and love. You're human. You're a non-physical being having a physical experience. And as such, you're just floating through life. Things are coming at you. Your thoughts are creating the events that are occurring around you. And other people who have their own thoughts and their own intentions, they interact with yours. And so it's how you respond to their interaction with you. If they're coming at you from a negative place, it's up to you to recognize that's something you don't want in your life.
Right.
You simply eradicate it. You have the choice to eradicate it.
I actually had a conversation with somebody about that this morning. So it's so interesting you bring that up. And I said, when you walk away from somebody where you feel they brought you down, sometimes you can use a little bell. I have this little tiny silver bell, and I'll ring it, or I'll find something that makes me laugh, or I've got to raise my vibration. It's my responsibility to raise my own vibration, and so I will do things. It's like breaking. It's almost like waking up. Have you ever had a dream where you're falling? And you're like, oh no, I don't want to hit the ground. And you wake up, and that's really what it is. It's like, you don't want to hit the ground. You don't want to be at that same vibrational level. So whatever it is, put on a song that you really you enjoy, that always brings you, like you walking on sunshine, right? It brings you up. Again, last night I had to laugh. I just happened to have Laugh-In was on, right? And I saw Goldie Hawn, and they had all of these words. She used to be like the poster girl, and they would write all of these words on all over her body. And decorate her. and that's what she, and it was like communicate to elevate. And I'm like, and then, she did this little sexy dance. I mean, she's just so cute. But it's like, we're almost like that. I mean, we're not walking around with literal, although people do have tattoos now, but like literally like words we see on ourselves. Like, so whatever it is that brings you back to that focus point where you're elevating your vibration and it's bringing in peace and connection and happiness to your heart, find that, do that. Whatever it is, because you don't have to be on that same that channel. We forget that we have the power. That's that song. You got the power.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right.
That is that is absolutely so true. I mean, one of the things what comes to mind when you say that is the fact that we cannot feel. Nothing outside of us can feel one way or another, unless we allow that to happen. Unless we invest in whatever that is to feel that way. If someone comes up to you and says something derogatory or something that the society would consider hurtful, hurtful, which because the issue is that it's outside influences that teach us, society, that teaches us that we need to feel bad when somebody says something to us that makes us feel, that initially, and there's always an initial reaction. Yeah, it came out of the blue. It was a surprise. I was blindsided. However, once you take the next couple of breaths and gather your composure, the thing to do is to realize that the reaction that you have to whatever was said, whatever was done, is a choice that you make, and you can choose negative or positive, or neutral even. Neutral being, wow, wasn't that interesting? where'd that come from? And then just walk on, right? You don't have to invest energy and emotion and frequency into what other people say or do, or what society says or does. And when we come to that realization, that's another one of those pivot points in life. You go, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, you recognize the power and control you have over how you feel. That's the important thing. You have an incredible amount of power over how you feel, what you think, what goes on in the 5 inches between your ears. And the issue a lot of times for people is they're allowing outside influences, and people are a part of that, outside influences, anything outside of you, to dictate the path of your thoughts and the path of your feelings. And it was interesting how the teachers in a previous post this week had talked about anxiety, and how anxiety is a confluence of way too many lower frequencies at the same time.
That's beautifully put.
And I heard, it's like, wow, yes, a confluence. They didn't use the word confluence, but that's my thing. But
no, I like your word.
It's a confluence of, it's when so many when you're overwhelmed. That's the word they did use. Overwhelmed with a literal cornucopia of negative feelings and emotions and thoughts. You're literally, you've got everything. Just pick a go to the dictionary and look up every negative feeling you could possibly have, and boom, you put them all together at the same time. You've got anxiety. And the only way in their view to deal with anxiety from that perspective is to have your guide help clear the grid. Have, sit down and meditate for 5 minutes, quiet your mind for 5 minutes, and allow your guide to kind of sweep away some of the clutter that is creating that confluence of negative feelings and emotions at that particular time, because it's being triggered by something, And so it's kind of interesting that I think about that. The thing I say to most people, though, that I come across when the time is right, when I feel it's necessary, I feel it's the right time to say it, because I can sense when people aren't open to receiving things, information and such, is that nothing. You're the one who allows outside influences to impact you the way they do. Take back your power. Make 2024 the year of taking back your power, to not allowing everything outside of you to make you feel the negativity, the lower frequencies that you don't really like. Nobody likes feeling sad. Nobody likes feeling hopeless or in despair. Nobody likes feeling depressed about one thing or another. But you know what? Hey, how do you do this? We start out this conversation talking about what we can learn, and it's a new cycle, and we have new beginnings and reflection. Why not think about not just next year, but going forward? You're going to make next year an experiment in being in control of your own thoughts and feelings, an experiment in understanding that what happens outside of you doesn't have to make you feel the way it initially makes you feel, although that feeling is natural because you're a, again, non-physical being having a physical experience and everything is new to you. It's not new when you respond the same way over and over and over and over again. It's not new.
Right.
It's just, it's rote. That's the way you've learned to respond. Let's shift our responses. Let's pivot away from negative responses. Initially, yes, you'll have one. Initially, you'll be shouting expletives when the guy tries to run you off the road, right? Because they don't see you. However, we have to recognize, wait a minute. That outside event is just a thing that happened. I don't have to invest in it. I don't have to let it make me feel a certain way. I don't have to let it. I don't have to go to that low frequency place. I can stay where I am. Let's take a breath.
Right.
And let's keep moving on. And the quicker you can do that, the quicker you can do that, the more happy you will be happier you'll be, the more loving you'll be, the more, take every higher frequency that's out there that you want to feel. You're going to be feeling that versus the lower frequencies of anger or hate or jealousy or revenge or this or that. There's no reason for all that. None whatsoever. Right. So we would make next year an experiment about that, of understanding that one thing. It'll change a lot. It'll change pretty much your entire life. There's a lot of things it can. There's no silver bullet. However, all those things together, practicing gratitude, practicing forgiveness, not allowing investing in negativity that happens to you or out there in the world, right? It's interesting. We also have to buck the system. The system that I'm talking about is the system that has at its heart the gain involved in making you feel bad. It's a tremendous. It's a system. It can almost feel like a weight. It's a system. If you turn on media, if you turn on social media, if you turn on any outside influence that dispenses information, 99% of them survive by pulling your strings. So we have to not let them pull our strings. And that's really because that's why we feel bad. Listen, if you ask yourself that question, it's the wrong question. It's the wrong question. You can feel love. You have to emanate. Your life is not that. And that's what I'm saying. That is, we get caught up in it. That is not our life. We should not feel, we should not resonate negative frequencies in our own life, which from a law of attraction perspective just begets the same thing, the same thoughts and the same reality for ourselves over and over again. We can emanate love. And we talked about this in shows previous. That when we're positive, when we're emanating love, when we're emanating forgiveness and gratitude and all of that, as the teacher said last week, it becomes a bubble that goes out and never bursts. Why don't we
and it becomes more and more powerful. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Fill the earth with positive bubbles versus negative bubbles. Because right now the negative bubbles are winning.
I know.
Right.
I just want to interject something real fast, Michael, because as you were talking, I sent you a video yesterday, and I'm not a golfer. So, and it was so interesting because this particular golfer, and this I think it's such a good metaphor, because and you can expand on who he is and everything else. And maybe I think what I'll do is post the video. But he's standing on the opposite side of this big body of water, and there's
he's on a par 3,
and it looks seemingly impossible. And I'm sure the people that were around him were like, "Yeah, sure, you're going to make this shot." And so he takes the shot, and the ball skips off the water like a stone, which is really, and I'm sure everybody was like, "Oh, ha, ha," look, what kind of shot was that? And you watch the ball miraculously just travel in this path that seems completely impossible. And
random.
And random. Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever how it's even going to hit the pin. But it does. It does. And I thought to myself, what a great metaphor. I mean, Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, would say, in the morning, he'd say, sometimes I believed in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. I mean, he wrote that, and I think, okay, that's great. How many impossible things can you imagine for yourself that are related to your passion, and believe in them? And I'd love to hear, because that, to me, that was just, there were so many nuances in the messages in that. It just was like, amazing, right? I don't know how it's going to happen.
Well,
but he let it go. He took the shot, right?
Yeah, I will tell you, It was a par 3, and technically that's where they, a lot of holes. The holes in one are made on, somebody who hits off the tee and the ball goes in the hole eventually. Some 100, 200 yards down or 230 yards down the line, and it was a mishit. He mishit the ball, which is rare for this guy because he was number one in the world for a while, winning everything. And he had a miss it. It skipped over the lake. I must have skipped like 12 times. And then it comes out the other side it comes up and over the edge, runs up the area in front of the green, runs onto the green to the right. And it's at such a point where it takes the curvature of the green and the ball goes directly in the hole for a hole in one, which is, there are people who've played their entire life and never had one of those. I've had 2 and almost 3.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was spectacular. But the metaphor here is exactly what you're saying it is. It's like it's when the thing that you think is the worst thing that could happen turns into the best thing that could happen. And you have, this is a guy I'm sure.
I know. I'm laughing about it because it's like
it is.
Like, it's a good reminder, a visual to see, just a reminder.
That the worst
anything
thing isn't
can
the worst
happen.
Thing. That's right. The worst thing is not the worst thing that could happen. I mean, he would recover from that. It would just be another thing. It would be wow, that's interesting to this guy. These guys are at a professional level where mentally if you allow hitting a ball into the water to disrupt your mental focus and your purpose and your intention, then you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong profession. The mental game, the 5 inches between their ears, is what separates each one of them because their skill level is pretty much the same. When you get to that level, that's the 1/100th of 1% of all the golfers in the world. So we can take that and we can say, yeah, what can I learn from that? It's that the thing you think is the worst thing ever. It's really, in many cases, it's never the worst thing ever. Really, it's never the worst thing ever because there's always some outcome that can happen from that. I mean, as a golfer, have I hit the ball in the water off a par 3? Oh, yeah. Have I skipped the ball across the water? Yeah. Have I? I will tell you one thing. I was on a par 3 on my own golf course. This was a couple of months ago in the summer. And I was playing with somebody who I hadn't played with before. I was out as a single. I hit off this par 3, and I wildly shanked this thing. I mean, basically, I hit it off kind of like what he did. We call it a worm burner. It's on the ground. It just goes off in somewhere, and you're like, okay, that's fine. It never made the green. Then the second shot, I hit way too badly. It went over the green, right? It went over the green. And then I'm so far away, I'm thinking to myself, I need to save this hole. I mean, this thing right now, up to this point, has been a disaster. How am I going to get and I'm like 30 yards away from the green after I've already tried to hit it once, and that's after 2 shots. I only have 3 to get it in the hole. Interestingly enough, my third shot from 30 yards off the green miraculously went in the hole.
That's great.
And I looked at the guy and I said, "Did you see that?" He goes, "What?" I said, "I hit that ball way over there, then I missed it way over there, hit it way over there, and then the third time it actually went in. I never had to pull my putter out of the bag." I mean, we're talking about 50 yards, from 50 yards away, including the green. I'm like, this is golf. And I thought to myself at the same time, this is life. Just when you think it's all going south.
Right.
You have, as long as you don't think and invest in it going south, right? Because that's the thing we do. We invest in it going south. We invest in it going even more badly, right? We invest in that instead of backing off, taking a breath, and going, okay, we have to forget the first couple of mistakes, which were pretty horrific if you want to start judging it. And then you look at where you are, and where you are is always where you are. That's the beginning, right? We reset. Up to now, this has been a really terrible hole. However, I can save this. I can say
Right.
this, which is what I'm saying about. I can say this. I can say this. I don't know
and
how.
some people say, this has been a really terrible year, or this has been a really terrible day, or a week, or whatever it is. But I think that, and bringing it back to, the blessings of the solstice, that no matter where you are, right? This is a season of miracles. There are blessings in every day. Oh, yes. We have opportunities to express ourselves with joy. We have the opportunity to celebrate life. New doors open. We need to welcome in that self-compassion, that inviting it in, accept ourselves with loving kindness, project that out into the world, nurture the love that we feel and be a reflection of that. Shine bright so that our hearts can connect, because truly that's what this show is about. That's what you exemplify, Michael. And love does matter. It's our connection. It's that joy. It's being gentle with yourself and allowing those blessings to come in. And so, even if it takes a moment to walk out and breathe deeply and bask in the stars, or if you're in a part of the world where you've been blessed with these amazing aurora borealises that are unbelievably spectacular, allow that light to bask in it, and then allow that light to shine from within, because truly that's what this is all about. It's about holding that heart space, awakening into love, and really shining that love into the world. And that's my hope for you all. And Michael, I'll let you close out the show, because it's just it's always such an honor and such a delight, and you have so much to share. So I'll allow you to close it out.
First, give yourself credit. I will tell you at this particular point, this show wouldn't exist without you, because you bring a light and a love and a passion to it that is, it's not happenstance. It's who you are. It just flows naturally from you. And if I'm that amazing, it's only because I have you as a co-host on the show and a friend off the show. We are muses to each other. We enjoy totally separate things. People, one thing that people don't know, we've done, how many does it, 85, 86 shows, I think 100. We've done.
Close to 100.
And we've 100. And people don't know that you and I have never met face to face.
I know.
We have never met face to face. Yeah, we've FaceTimed before. We have Zoomed a show or so, and we've done a show like that with Carol. However, what this should teach people is that you can build connection. You can improve your life in ways that you could never imagine through the power of connection. And if you're sitting alone, this holiday season, this December, this solstice, this at the end of this year, think about the fact that connection is the thing that is most important in life. It's the thing that helps us live longer. It's been proven that connection helps you live longer, and that it is up to each and every one of us to seek connection. We have to frame the mindset that connection can happen, that we are worthy of connection. That's the first thing. If we feel we're not worthy of connection, it's the same thing as putting out a bubble of I'm not worthy. What are you going to get? You're going to get validation of that left and right. You are worthy. You are a loving, passionate, compassionate, empathetic being, positive, joyful being. That's the way you were born. If you're not that way, it's because you've allowed life, the experience of outside influences in your life, to make you feel differently. It's like drinking that Kool-Aid, that low-frequency Kool-Aid. Time to, in 2024, drink the high-frequency Kool-Aid. Drink the high-frequency Kool-Aid. That's what it's time to do, okay? So, as a metaphor for, it's time to embrace the fact that you are worthy, that you are an amazing human being, a non-physical being in human form, and that you have the ability to respond differently to everything. And as Bashar said, it's changing your responses. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate this opportunity and wish everybody the best year ever.
Absolutely. And believe in the impossible. Yeah. And if you don't, play golf and you'll witness it firsthand, right?
Well, I thank you. I thank you for being my co-host. This is not the last show of the year. We're still going to have one more next week.
Yeah,
okay?
So blessed. Yeah, enjoy a beautiful and blessed week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.